A newly wedded woman on her honeymoon starts to suspect conspiracies are afoot when her husband disappears shortly after boarding a cruise ship in the 1953 noir thriller Dangerous Crossing. And that's the movie we're dusting off this week on Movie Bones.
Can you tell me how long ago Mr. Bowman was here?
Bowman?
Yes, John Bowman. He left some cash with you.
I'm afraid we have no record of it.
Oh, you must have. He was coming right here from... This is the purser's office.
Yes, ma'am.
Perhaps Mr. Bowman has been delayed.
If you'd care to wait, I'm sure
It's
that
been such an awfully long time since he left our cabin. He was coming right here and then meeting me in the bar.
Well, I don't think it's anything to worry about. We always run into these mix-ups around sailing time.
Departures always seem one big confusion.
But he said...
Why don't you go back to the bar and wait? And if he comes here first, I'll send him galloping.
Thank you.
That is Jeannie Crane, played by Ruth Stanton Bowman. Sorry, that's backwards. Strike that, reverse it. That is Ruth Stanton Bowman, played by Jean Crane. And she is really acting with her face. And that's one of the first things I noticed about this film, is that the lead actress especially, who's only the central part of the movie, her face acting, she had rehearsed this really well. I could tell she rehearsed it really well. And it felt so practiced. That's the first thing I noticed. The other thing I noticed was a bunch of red herrings. This movie is so desperate for you to go down a blind alley. They introduced like 5 or 6 red herrings, and just to make you feel like you're in a Hitchcock film. This is not as good as what I would consider a good Hitchcock film, even though it seems to be trying to do that. But I'm trying to put my finger on exactly what it is, and I'm having a hard time coming up with anything. I don't know. Did you feel anything like that?
I would say yes, it's definitely trying to be like a Hitchcock film, but the problem is it's like there's a lot of Hitchcock films and a lot of noir films too, they don't end on a good note.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the issue. Is this movie, it wants to twist the knife that it's put within you. It doesn't actually do that.
No.
In fact, it almost is like, it almost pulls the knife out and was like, well, sorry about that.
Oh, excuse me, just bumped into you there. So I didn't see you there. Sorry.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, for me, I think we're almost hard-pressed to call this a noir film.
It's trying to be. I really feel like it's trying hard. And it has some of the elements you see in noir, too. And I think that it just doesn't get, I think, some of what to do with those elements, in part because, well, I mean, and some of it's just a pacing problem. Some of it's just like, this is a story structure where it's like, and we've seen this before in other movies, where it's like the heroine or the hero or the heroine, something about the world has made them, put them in an awkward position where to the rest of the world, they're starting to look increasingly unhinged and deranged. Something like, well, it's like you could say, like you mentioned it, we talked about it before a little bit, but it's like, not Sunset Boulevard, it's Gaslight, right? Uh-huh. Where it's like to the rest of the world, it's like this person is looking more and more deranged. You have to keep turning the screws, but it stops turning the screws at some point. There's a threat that she's going to be locked in her cabin. And that does eventually happen, but it happens way late in the film. So what you end up with is a whole bunch of scenarios that kind of just repeat themselves. And it's the same people she's running into, so just to make sure that the same people realize she's going loopy, it almost like becomes a joke after a while.
She had to ask the question, okay, what's my character all about? What's my character's personality? What's my character's motive? Things like that. But the writers of the film looked at her and said, your character is hot. That's what I felt like, because like you're told multiple times in the movie how attractive she is.
Oh, yeah. And she is. And
she is, yeah. She's absolutely attractive. Good casting. But that's the thing is like throughout the movie, it's really like the only thing her character seems to have going for her. 1, she's supposedly rich. We don't actually know how rich she is, but she's supposedly rich. 2, she's hot. Mm-hmm. And 3, something happened in her life that brought her to a potential psychosis situation that was able to be played out in the movie. And what that means, like, we do get a very, very small snippet of her backstory where apparently, I guess she had like an abusive father.
Yeah. Something along those lines. Or an abusive uncle. I think the uncle was trying to take her father's business. is what I gathered.
It's more like they're just to explain, like, why would people not believe her? Well, this is a reason why people might not believe her, because she seems to already have had some kind of trauma in her life, but her character never actually deals with that.
No. And the thing is, it's like some of the information they're dropping late in the film, like that whole thing with the uncle who's trying to get a hold of the family wealth. I didn't even know she was wealthy until that point. And you think that something like this in the conversation she'd had with, maybe in the opening scene with her husband or something, or, they have a conversation where they at least allude to it. I'm trying to rack my brain. I've seen this thing twice now, and I'm trying to.
I don't think it's ever really brought up. I mean, we just kind of find out that, he just wants her money. I mean,
yeah.
I don't think there's ever a connection between the two.
Yeah.
That's really established, that is.
I mean, not to her uncle. I think that's the whole motive. I think the two people who are trying to kill her is her husband and the nurse on board who's his accomplice. His job is to marry her and then make her seem crazy so he can knock her off the boat and then inherit the money and run off with the stewardess. Okay, but it's not connected to the subplot, the description earlier with the uncle, not as far as I know. And it's like, so even that was a red herring. It's like playing gotcha. It's like, okay, you got me the first couple times, okay? But you can't just keep playing gotcha over and over again. That's not creative,
No, not at all.
Dude.
This is actually based off a radio play.
I wonder if it would have played better in radio.
Well, that radio play is only 30 minutes.
It's only 30 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
A 30-minute radio play turned into an hour-plus movie. That could be part of the problem right there, It does seem like she doesn't learn a lesson. That's the other thing, right?
No, not at all.
And you run into a relationship with a person like right off the bat. And it's like she just married this guy like after like a few days. She doesn't even remember when the stewardess and all the other people are grilling her about, where were you married, even that kind of thing. And she doesn't even remember that. It's like, come on, lady. I mean, even if you got like a Vegas honeymoon wedding, you're probably going to remember at least from the night before, unless you got drunk. And that could be a thing, although they don't explore it. It's like, you would at least remember where you were married, at least for a day, I would think.
Yeah, you get to a point, I think, watching this film, where you're kind of sitting there going, it'd be cool if the psychosis was a real thing.
That seemed almost like a possible thing,
Because you could still have someone that's after her or after her money. The problem with the movie is it leads you to a lot of different cliffs to jump off into, and it refuses to jump off into those cliffs. It plays it safe. It plays it too safe. It plays it so safe, in fact, that I do kind of feel watching the film, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, he's still alive. He very clearly has an accomplice. I don't know about you, but for me, I kind of suspected the waitress or the stewardess lady.
The stewardess lady, yeah.
Pretty quickly. I'm like, it seems like she was. And also, knew it was a noir film. So I'm like, well, there's got to be some kind of really bad chick in here.
Yeah.
And there she is. It was going to either be her or the best friend.
For my money, it had to be her because it's like she was actually in the room with them. She was a witness to, we saw her there with the others, whereas the other people involved, it's like they weren't. So we knew she was lying, unless the movie went out of its way to try and give you kind of more of her perspective angle. Is it real? Isn't it? That would feed into the psychosis thing. But for my money, it was going to be her for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you've got like a couple characters who are, like the guy with the limp. He never really comes off as creepy to me. It kind of always comes across to me as like he's just some dude that's trying to, get by, and she keeps getting her freaked out by. And like, there's understandable reasons why she gets freaked out by him, but I never felt it for her.
No.
And I do think that's a problem when you're watching a film is you need to be able to feel it for the character. Like maybe she is, maybe this is, but like, I just felt like it very much undersells what it could do.
Yeah. There's even the one woman, it's like that she boards with, as soon as her husband goes off and disappears, which happens, I think, a little too soon in the plot. The one woman who is kind of a divorcee, I guess. Mm-hmm. And, and even she kind of later on, it's made to look like she's going to be part of this too. Because she's talking to the doctor alone and, and she's all suspicious of that. So in a way it's trying to put her in that position too, although, but you don't really feel like she's ever truly part of it. So it doesn't do it what it's trying to do very artfully. I guess can't quite put my finger on it exactly, except for the fact that all the stuff that they're trying to make you think is part of a plot or potentially part of a plot, you never feel it. That really is a problem for a movie that's working in this genre too. And then to give it a happy ending too, a really happy ending where almost nothing changes. You just change the man, basically.
Yeah. And you can maybe make an argument like, well, this guy's at least, not a bad dude.
Although he's still loaded with that 50s creepy sexism too. I noticed he's
Yeah.
coming on to her really strong. There's something about the actor too who plays the doctor. He just felt like Jack Palance's understudy. The skull shape, the cheekbones really got me. He could almost do like, I could see him doing Dracula really easily too if he wanted to do it. But yeah, that was another thing about the doctor. He just, for me, he felt a little bit. He was, I guess, if he wasn't, sexist, I guess you could say he was all right. He just wasn't as crazy as her husband, going after money, I guess, and that's the alternative. But yeah, and then just to run off with him at the end.
Oh, he actually plays. Sorry, I'm looking up his work. He actually plays. He plays Klaatu in the science fiction film *The Day the Earth Stood Still*.
Oh,
the
really?
1951 version.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we would find that film. We have to watch that one.
Okay. This is a sci-fi classic. I've never seen it. I just, I know they did a remake with Keanu Reeves a little while ago.
I also like that movie.
I haven't seen either one. I always felt I didn't get mixed up with, but it's like that Twilight Zone episode, To Serve Man. Have you ever seen that? I love that episode.
I've never seen that one.
For those of you who are like triggered by certain audio impulses, I got triggered by the Foghorn because they went for authenticity here. This boat goes through so much fog, and they make sure that that when a ship goes through fog, it will let it off its horn every 5 seconds, and you will hear it every 5 seconds. There's a certain weird kind of authenticity about that, and I almost kind of admire it, except that it drove me nuts.
But one of the things I thought Nuke the Fridge was, honestly, part of it was that foghorn. Because it's so distracting. The foghorn sounds 107 times during the film.
It does. Wow.
Here's another trivia thing. This is from IMDb. In real life, ship foghorns are on an automated system that sounds the horn every 2 minutes in low visibility conditions. In this film, the foghorn sounds every 7 seconds.
It had to be close to 5 because I'm serious. I did do a waveform of it. I think I actually recorded a waveform of a scene, and I could see the spike whenever it went up, and you could just see them. It's like a fence post of these marks in the waveform.
Other things for me that make this more of like on the Nuke the Fridge territory, and again, I want to make this very clear to people out there. Honestly, I kind of like the film. It's a short film. It's like a fun little mystery. Like it doesn't. It takes itself too seriously, but it really shouldn't, because it doesn't. It relies again on this whole red herring things to build its story and go through its story. But another big reason why this movie, for me, like I could watch it and laugh at it, is that she does not learn her lesson. She just absolutely does not learn her lesson. I just married this guy. He has completely obliterated my trust in people because he's trying to literally kill me for some money. Well, you know what? How will I ever move on? The doctor's right there. I can move on that way. And you're like, have you learned nothing?
Who also knows, by the way, that she's wealthy now. He was one of the ones who knows now that she's wealthy. So you're not even going to suspect that.
This is a character who does not grow in this movie. And that's unfortunate. The only thing that happens to her is that she realizes her mystery is solved. All she is pretty. That's really all this movie lets her be, is pretty and, tortured.
In danger.
Pretty, a pretty tortured person.
The Nuke the Fridge thing for me is like, now for me, it's like I did find her performance to be, like I said, a little over the top, and she's going from 0 to 11. It's like, and her expressions were so entertaining to watch in their own. And that plus the music, who just amplifies her heightened agitation, which is so through the roof already. It was genuinely entertaining for me in that sense. And it's short enough that I could classify this as definitely Nuke the Fridge. And it's like, it's not like high level, but it's like, and it's also a Nuke the Fridge for me that doesn't just happen to be like a science fiction one, which you tend to expect them most in like the 1950s B movies. But here it's like in an actual, almost like Hitchcockian stylish drama, murder mystery. It was actually funny. And so, yeah, I'll be watching this again. So let's talk about verdicts. I'm square in the middle at in the museum, but with Nuke the Fridge. So, and that's kind of the reason why. So, yeah, I've given you a reason.
I'm kind of there too. The same thing with the other part of it. I'll say this: you don't get too many ship movies that are mysteries like this.
No.
I thought the acting was fine. Like I will say, I thought the acting was fine for the most part. And again, it's a neat little mystery. Like it really is a neat little mystery. The only real issue is that it doesn't play enough into the mystery other than is this the bad guy? Is this the bad guy? But if you're watching it for the first time, you could definitely sit there and go, okay, this is good. If you need to kill an hour and 15 minutes, this is the movie to go watch. I'm not kidding you. Because she's pretty. The acting's good, and things like that. I always like it when characters can kind of fix the problems themselves.
Yeah.
And again, they didn't let her do that. There's this whole action sequence. The action sequence is not bad for what it is and what time period it is and everything. But there's this action sequence between the doctor and her husband. Like that is solved by the doctor. I mean, of course, the husband, falls off himself. But like you're almost kind of wondering, like, man, she should push him off. And I'm not kidding you. I thought maybe she would push him off. Of course, it still would have ended in like the violent solution. But still, it's nice when they can solve the issue, when they can kind of save themselves, overcome it. But she doesn't. I mean, like she's still very vulnerable at the end of this movie. And I really do kind of wonder, like, why is that the route? Because in noir films, most of the time, even if they're not the femme fatale, most of the women in noir films are very, powerful in their own ways. They're very independent. They're very, not modern in that sense. Like they got modern ideals in some ways and modern looks, and they're their own person. And she's really not her own person.
No.
And again, the movie says at the end of it, she's still not her own person.
Yeah. I mean,
but I still like the movie.
I like it too. I think we like it for different. You and I like it for different reasons. But overall, I mean, the effect is the same. Again, I do think there is some missed opportunities here. Obviously, I mean, I love the idea of having this kind of a confined environment of a ship where you're at sea for several days probably, and you can't get away from the forces that are trying to get you. This could be a really potentially great idea, and this didn't take good advantage of it that way. Luckily, other things happened. Anyway, I guess our review for Dangerous Crossing. At this time, we like to remind the listeners out there that if you're having a good time with Ryan and me dusting off these old movies in search of celluloid treasure, please do like, subscribe, comment, and of course, follow us on your podcast purveyor of choice. Tell us what you think we got wrong, and they are just opinions at the end of the day. Go ahead and clue us in on a few titles you'd like us to see cover on future episodes, as long as they are available for free on Tubi or maybe Internet Archive, because this adventure comes with no strings attached. And on the subject of future episodes, what should people tune into to get ready for next week's episode, Ryan?
We have quite a treat for you.
At the time, a future president's involved, Yeah,
I was about to say. Tubi says this: small town scandals inspire idealistic young man from hypocritical provincial upbringing to take up psychiatry in the turn of the century America. This is directed by Sam Wood, starring Ann Sheridan, Robert Cummings, Ronald Reagan, Betty Field, and this is titled King's Row. For those of you that might, for some reason, not know, Ronald Reagan was an actor before he became president. Yes. And if you're not a fan of Ronald Reagan, this is a moment where I'm going to say separate the art from the artist, because we didn't know anything about him back in 1942, wanting to be president in the 80s. So,
yeah, and he was governor in between that too. So, but yeah, governor of California, I think. I'm looking forward to this. I think Ronald Reagan said it later in life that this was what he considered to be his best role, I think.
Now, for me, this has thriller written all over it. Am I right?
It could have some thriller elements. I think it's going to have some intense emotional aspects to it from what I've read. It supposedly tackles a lot of more taboo subjects, or at least the original source material is based on a book. Apparently, it did even more. There's even more of subtext going on in the book than they were able to get past probably the censors. So yeah. Anyway, folks, that's all we have this week. Brian, I'll see you next week, and folks out there, we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye, folks.